We love OutRun 2 here at the Sega guys. We can't get enough of it. Whether it's on our original Xbox consoles or in the arcade via Deluxe Link Cup cabinets, for us it's the best arcade racer Sega have ever made, the culmination of decades of experience. Released in arcades in 2003 and running on the Xbox based Chihiro board, OutRun 2 was an overnight sensation. It not only modernised Yu Suzuki's 1986 original, but improved on it in every way, combining incredible drift mechanics with gorgeous visuals. It was truly the sequel that OutRun deserved and more, and in 2004, OutRun 2 was ported to the Xbox where it would remain an exclusive until 2006, which brings us to today's video. OutRun 2006 Coast to Coast not only broke Xbox's OutRun 2 exclusivity, it was based on 2004's OutRun 2 SP, a pseudo-sequel that added 15 brand new stages set across America and an entirely new scoring system. However, in Japan, the PlayStation 2 game was simply called OutRun 2 SP, with Sumo Digital going above and beyond to enhance the experience by improving performance and removing the slowdown found in the western version of Coast to Coast, focusing the gameplay on SP. With OutRun 2, Sega had created arcade racing nirvana, only to improve it just a year later. Hi, I'm James the SEGAHolic of the Sega guys, and this is OutRun 2 SP. Perfection redefined. OutRun 2 embodied the spirit of the original game with many stages inspired by a European aesthetic, including scenic routes that evoke the feel of a Mediterranean road trip. Players start in Palm Beach, clearly inspired by the Côte d'Azur, before racing through vibrant landscapes like Deep Lake, which takes influence from Lake Geneva in Switzerland. The coniferous forest with its dense trees and cottages is based on the Black Forest of Schwarzwald. The tulip gardens are unmistakable as the countryside of the Netherlands, with vibrant tulip fields and windmills, while the imposing architecture and Colosseum of Imperial Avenue are instantly recognisable as the streets of Rome. And amongst the sunshine, there's also the cloudy Highland, a moody yet atmospheric nod to the dense but beautiful rolling hills and fields of the Scottish Highlands. That stage makes me feel right at home. By contrast, OutRun 2 SP follows Turbo OutRun's example and shifts its focus to an American road trip vibe, drawing inspiration from various landscapes across the United States, such as the California-inspired Sunny Beach with its palm tree-lined streets and sun-drenched roads. The Bay Area, inspired by San Francisco with its rolling hills, suspension bridges and city views. National Park, with its towering trees, rugged mountains and vibrant blend of yellow and green grass, takes influence from Yosemite or Yellowstone. Big Forest Stage, with its towering trees that line the road, draws inspiration from the majestic Redwood National Park, while the fallen trees overhead and roads carved through colossal trunks pay homage to the awe-inspiring Sequoia National Forest. Canyon, with its towering red rock cliffs and desert atmosphere, evokes the iconic landscape of Arizona's Grand Canyon. Casino Town, with its vibrant neon lights, casino signs and over-the-top glitz, is unmistakably a representation of Las Vegas, Nevada, and even features a statue of Sonic, as well as Sonic-themed billboards by the roadside. And Skyscrapers, with its tall buildings, bustling city streets and the Statue of Liberty, is unmistakably New York City. However, the biggest change in OutRun 2 SP isn't the setting. No, it's the brand new Slipstreaming score mechanic, which brings a whole new level of depth to OutRun 2's already amazing gameplay. Mastering the slipstream mechanic is key to maximising your score and, just like in real life racing, involves driving closely behind another vehicle to reduce air resistance, giving you a speed boost. But slipstreaming doesn't just speed you up, it has a massive impact on your scoring potential, especially when overtaking traffic. Each vehicle type you pass contributes to your score, with significantly higher rewards for clean slipstream assisted overtakes. Passing a normal car or a camper van without using the slipstream earns you 750 points, but doing so while slipstreaming doubles that to 1500 points. Coaches and lorries offer much bigger returns, 7,500 points for a standard pass and a whopping 15,000 points when using slipstream. The most valuable targets though are the rival Ferraris, which grant 25,000 points normally and 50,000 points if slipstreamed before overtaking. The inclusion of rivals is yet another nod to Turbo OutRun, which, if you remember, seen you fend off a silver Porsche. However, if you make any contact with the vehicle that you're passing, your score is drastically reduced, down to 375, 3,750 or 12,500 points respectively, depending on the vehicle type. This penalty applies even if you were in the slipstream beforehand, making clean driving essential for the highest scores. Slipstreaming isn't just a way to maintain speed though, it's a strategic scoring tool and one that makes you think while you race. You see, these vehicles aren't just obstacles, and before you know it, you'll find yourself plotting paths through the traffic to ensure that you pass the most lucrative vehicles at the highest speed to maximise your score. Of course, in any version of OutRun, your score is constantly rising as you progress further into the game, but in OutRun 2 SP, you're rewarded for clean driving at high speed. When your car exceeds a certain speed, usually around the 295 kph mark, your display for the score will turn blue. This visual change isn't just for show, it indicates that you've entered a high speed bonus state, and while you're in this state, the game rewards you with extra points per second simply for maintaining that top speed. It's a subtle yet effective way to encourage that high speed clean racing. And this mechanic plays a key role in high score strategies. The longer you can sustain that speed without hitting traffic or veering off the road, the more bonus points that you'll rack up. It also stacks with other scoring actions like slipstreaming and overtaking rivals. By linking visual feedback to performance, OutRun 2 SP adds a layer of risk versus reward gameplay that pushes players to stay fast, precise and in control. It all combines to make OutRun 2 SP more than just a racing game, because while Sega Rally got its hooks into players by making the game all about shaving seconds off your best time, OutRun 2, at the end of the day, is a score attack racer. Sure, you'll come back for the graphics, the amazing soundtrack and the incredible power sliding, but most of all, you'll come back to try and beat that best score to chain together slipstreaming and high speed bonuses, and it's here where we see the influence from another Sega classic. And no, it's not a racing game. Nights into Dreams on the Sega Saturn, a game that hides its depth in plain sight, with a deep scoring system that promotes repeated play in order to achieve the best rating. In Nights, you chain collecting blue chips and flying through rings to create links. The higher the chain, the better the score, and the better the ranking you receive at the end of the level. In many ways, the link chain of Nights is comparable to the slipstreaming in OutRun 2 SP. In Nights, you need to keep the link chain alive by collecting another object or flying through another ring, which makes players think about their routes through stages, optimising when to speed up, what direction to take and what objects to collect. In OutRun 2 SP, you think about the best route through the traffic, optimising your top speed, what direction to take and what vehicles to target for overtake bonuses. Let's take a look back at the original OutRun 2 for a second, and more specifically the scoring system, which rewards players with 10,000 points for each vehicle passed, that's added to the score meter that's constantly racking up the further into the game you get. When you play the OutRun 2 tracks in OutRun 2 SP though, the slipstreaming and score mechanics from SP are put in place, totally transforming the original OutRun 2 experience and making it an even better game, especially as it also carries over the rival Ferraris. Of course, these changes also apply when playing OutRun 2006 coast to coast. I've chosen to play the Japanese PlayStation 2 version here purely to capture what is considered by many the best performing console version of OutRun 2 SP. But if you're sitting there with a copy of Coast to Coast and are wondering if any of this applies to your copy, yep, it sure does. The caveat to that though is that if playing a Western release, you'll get the best experience on the original Xbox. The PAL and US PS2 versions of Coast to Coast have noticeable slowdown on the SP tracks, especially on the New York themed skyscraper stage, although it was noticeable in several others, including Jungle and Big Forest. So if PS2 is your platform of choice, stick with the Japanese OutRun 2 SP release. And yes, the PC version of OutRun 2006 Coast to Coast has seen several performance patches and updates by the modder named Emus, who is determined to make that version as close to the arcade original as possible. Dan the Mega Driver has already done a video on that version for the channel, so check it out in the link in the description. It's fitting that OutRun 2 SP is so perfect though. It represents the last remnants of the Sega that we grew up with, the one that pushed the boundaries, took influence from its own creations, the one that wasn't afraid to take risks, rip up its own ideas and come back with something even crazier. Sega would be acquired by Sammy in mid-2004, months after the original OutRun 2 hit arcades, making the game one of those line in the sand moments. In many ways, Sega have never been the same since the Sammy acquisition. They're stable, they're profitable, but they're less risk averse and, dare I say it, less creative. OutRun 2 SP is without doubt the best arcade racer ever made. It's got everything you could ask for and more. It wasn't just that Sega had perfected their already brilliant OutRun 2, they'd perfected the genre that they'd pioneered and innovated. It's the culmination of decades of work, passion and experience, and in many ways it was a fitting farewell from the Sega that we'd grown up with. The arcade scene was dying, no more consoles would be made, no more risks would be taken. But every time you load up OutRun 2 SP you can't escape the Sega magic of old. The blue skies, the music, the handling, the score attack gameplay. To say it's Sega at the peak of their powers would be wrong, given that OutRun 2 came at one of the most tumultuous times in their history. But it was Sega's love letter to its fans, a thank you to those of us who had bought into their ethos in the home and the arcade for decades. It was the perfect game from the most imperfect of companies, and that is what makes it so timeless. If you've made it to the end, thanks as always for watching. I'd love to know what you think about OutRun 2 SP or even OutRun 2 in the comments below. This has been James the SEGAHolic of the Sega Guys, and until next time, we'll see you on the Sega side.